Levente is from Electro Suisse, which is an organization that for 130 years has been guaranteeing the security of the electrical infrastructure, electrical network in Switzerland, doing the standards and the certifications. Over recent times, all of you may have read how cyber attacks to the energy grid is one of the greatest risks you can have, because there are scenarios which are panned out in the United States in very fine detail, in which you can have millions of people without heat or energy during the winter. You could really create chaos and tens of thousands of them. So cyber is more and more applied and become a trend in the electronic things. So they are on the forefront of understanding of the most advanced needs of improving cybersecurity standards and technologies. Not only that, but in recent year, I think it's more 12 months or 18 months, they're actively expanding this knowledge, this expertise to other sectors in society, including data security and so on and so forth. So we met with the Levente already at length, and so we may possibly look into working together to promote these standards in various sectors. Thank you, Levente. Okay, sure.
Hello everybody, my name is Levente Dobszay from Suisse. Suisse was founded 130 years ago, formerly known as SEV Swiss Technical Association, and then we started to make this world electrically secure. We try to do this once again for cybersecurity. So that's the main problem we have. We try to teach people to drive such cars safely. But that's a joke. How meaningful is this? That's current IT. A lot has been said about the problem area, except that silent thing that belongs to the solution area. What do we have? We have threats, many threats. We have this really crappy ICT world. We have the user as the weakest link in the security chain. And we have a lot of recommendations, some we call standards. But in fact, there are no really binding standards. So let's have a look at the solution area. How would that look like, or should it look like? We have some security or safety problems for many different other areas. And why not solve that same way for cybersecurity? What do we have? We have laws, we have standards, we have testing and certification, we have incentives, rewards, we have sanctioning the ones that do not comply to these standards, to laws. We have education, and we need sponsoring for that. Currently, we have the law of the strongest. We need same fair rules for everybody. The question is, how can we achieve this? So I compared with road traffic because daily traffic has a lot in common with road traffic. What do we have in road traffic? We have technical standards, we have safety regulations for manufacturers, we have product liability, we have type testing, we have vehicle inspections periodically, we have road traffic law, we have traffic rules, we have we need traffic driver license, and there are traffic controls. All the same, we would need for daily traffic as well. What do we have here? Some standards, but they are not binding at all. We have a toothless tiger, I call it, data protection law. What else do we have? What we have is a digital Wild West, and that calls for laws and marshals. These are toasters 100 years ago. That's what we have currently for ICT and IoT. That's toasters we have today. So, which toaster would you prefer? Cybersecurity is or should be built on 5 pillars, like everywhere else. Laws and directives, standards, binding standards, testing and certification, education, and risk distribution. And that has to be organized and funded. So, the problem we have is that current standards are insufficient in various aspects. They are really not easy to implement, they're hard to understand, they're not scalable, and not binding at all. So, what do we have? Wild growth with initiatives and recommendations. We call them standards, but all with very poor success. And we all always bash the user. The user should be aware of the risk, should learn how risky it is. But where's an email? Umberto, it's gone.
Umberto,
In that point, I do, not consent him. A user will never understand digital risk. So what we need is we have to have an implementation standard like we have for electric installations. That's our job. We are the standardization body for Switzerland for electro technology and electric safety. And that's the same thing we want to have for cybersecurity. Because electric installer guy, he never reads any ISO standards or IC standards. He has his Bible. Dat is NIN, Niederspannungsinstallationsnormen. That's his Bible. And that's what he understands and easily can implement. So there are, for instance, not complicated physical formulas how to choose a wire. If you want to have a wire you run maybe 30 amperes over it, you can look it up. What kind of wire you have to choose, with what isolation. It's very easy. And we have to make this cybersecurity world as easy as that. And we have digital security law and directives, and these directives shall refer to these standards, like we have it everywhere else. Why not for digital security? So, our goal is to fill a gap. We have many standardization bodies in Switzerland, but none for cybersecurity. And that's what we aim for. So, the standardization world is quite complicated, with clearly defined processes. And what standards, what kind of documents do we have? We have this SN, it's a classical standard. We have SNR, these are normative rules. And then we have guidelines. A classic standard requires at least 3 years to develop. Because if you want to create such a standard, you have to announce it, you get feedback, you replies, and if anybody wants to participate, maybe Austria, Germany, then you create a joint working group. That's very difficult. So we go for a SNR. It's quite easier to implement. Yeah. Classical approaches for standardization are not really suitable, because technical standards are developed by volunteers. They're not paid for this. So the results, are unpredictable, and the motivation currently such people have is co-determination, knowledge advantage, or maybe like us selling these standards and getting these revenues therefrom. So. In the digital age, that royalty-based delivery of standards will not work. So that phasing out model. And we have the risk of dilution of such a standard by lobby representatives. So we want to define who has the knowledge, who is able to define such standards, good standards. And a standardization process has to be managed like a project, and that's what we try to do. And last but not least, we have to pay these people, because if we want to achieve good results, we have to have good people working on that, and they have to be paid well. So that's our idea, our vision I'm currently working on. And if anybody good wants to contribute anyhow, please contact me.